This is Jimmy Cab's Tape to Broadcast 5150 interview series in Bulldozer Magazine on an extremely, very incredible night tonight here in Silver Lake at the Satellite Club. I am very fortunate and very glad to have here the legendary Chicago Doom pioneer Eric Wagner of The Skull. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? Legendary.
Listen, you were doing this doom genre, stoner genre when it wasn't cool. Do you recall that?
I do. I mean, we were like, I remember in LA, since we're here, in the early 80s, you know, when everybody's walking around in their leathers and chains and shit, and I'm walking down Sunset with ripped jeans, a tie-dye shirt, and a fringe jacket, and they're looking at me like I'm from outer space or something, you know.
One of the things that's always bothered me about your legacy is the fact that you never truly do get recognized for how inspirational and how groundbreaking you were. Do you think now in this day and age you're finally being given that respect?
You know, I don't know. I think the whole time I have, in a way. I mean, people come up to me all the time when we were touring and shit and would say that to me, you know. So, you know, maybe we weren't like, got big like Led Zeppelin or something, you know, but,
That'd be nice.
Well, I don't even ask for that anymore. But all through the years, people always have come up to me and said that to me, you know.
So, it's true.
So, well, apparently, you know, like I said to you a minute ago, I'm just some dude from outside of Chicago, how I look at myself, you know. So it's kind of weird sometimes when people, a lot of people are sincere, but some people overreact, you know, too, and shit like that. But it's flattering. It surprises me that I'm still standing here and being able to do this, so I'm grateful for that.
For me, one of the things that I find interesting is the fact that there's a lot of bands that tend to get inspired by artists like yourselves, and then they don't recognize or throw back a bone, so to speak. Do you find that that has happened with you throughout your career with The Skull and your prior band?
Sometimes. I mean, a lot of the bands, I mean, our peers were probably our biggest fans sometimes, you know. At festivals and shows and stuff, they'd be watching and talking to us and stuff, and so that's fine, you know. It's I think being an influence on somebody's life is a pretty good form of success. Like, absolutely. Doesn't always have to be monetary, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, except stop downloading shit. I got bills to pay too. Free, I mean, you know.
Let's get into it here. The Skull. One of the things that really is interesting is the fact that your legacy prior to The Skull will always be associated with you. You will always be associated with trouble. As a matter of fact, not only do you embrace it, but you acknowledge the fact, and you're not ashamed of that. There's a lot of artists that they want to distance themselves. But you released earlier this year an amazing record on TP. Let me get the title correctly here. For Those Which Are Asleep. One of the things that I find very insulting is the fact that a lot of critics wrote it off as a trouble record. The energy's there, but creatively, artistically, you're on a whole other level, and it's still the same foundation. Would you agree with that assessment? And how do you feel about this new record?
I love it. I mean, I had a great time doing it. I can't get away from who I am, and Trouble was a part of that. I wrote the lyrics for that band too, you know. So it'll always be a part of who I am. So there's no reason for me to deny it or any of that kind of stuff. I can't help it. And people are always going to want to hear me sing those songs, you know. So when we first started The Skull, actually we started out doing just like the first two records, songs from that, because we never did by the end, you know. I thought it would be, and to separate us from them a little bit too. And, you know, now we've been a couple of years here and evolved, and we're doing songs from other albums, and we have our own record now. So I would love to just be The Skull, but I can't, you know. And that's okay, you know. Like I said, I love that band. I was with them for I don't know, since 1979, you know. So like I said, I can't help it, and there's no reason for why not embrace it. It is who I am. It's not what I do. So
What's interesting for me is that within the last 10 years, there's a lot of artists that have had that shift for whatever reason. And there's always bad blood, but between you and the trouble which exists now, it seems that you guys all have the same positive energy. Like, hey, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, and there isn't a split where the fans have to choose.
they shouldn't. You know, it's happened where, you know, people are like, oh, trouble without Eric and this and that and the other thing. But you know what? I enjoy what I'm doing. You know, I'm doing the Skull. I got my own band where I have my own creative outlet with Blackfinger. The Skull is, you know, we do the Trouble stuff and shit like that, and they're doing their own thing. Good, great. You know, it's awesome. It's awesome. So you do what you want. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to do that and move forward. And with the Skull, sometimes the premise was like, you know, you have to go through your past to get to the future sometimes. And so I'm having a good time, you know, and that's all. That's all that matters.
Being an artist for over, 3 decades. I say that because I'm also astonished at where we're at. Being an artist for over 3 decades, how do you maintain that genuine organic creativity? Because on this latest album, The Skull, on TP Records, there seems to be such a comfort. Do you know what I mean by that? It doesn't seem to be strained or forced. There just seems to be such a comfort on this record.
It's how we always wrote, really. We just, whatever came out, we never tried to write a certain way. And I mean, geez, the Skull record was what, my 10th record or something? So did it before, you know, and yeah, you're probably right. There is a comforting feeling on the record, like we've done it, and I have this to say right now. It's been a lot of years, and thank you everybody for coming along with the ride. You know,
that's gotta be rewarding,
and right? Stuff like, and you know, it was cool.
Do you find yourself when you're performing Skull material enjoying it just as much as when you're performing Trouble material? Because when you perform Trouble material, you're getting that energy off the audience.
Well, you know, surprising as we've been playing here since the album, that a lot of people are digging the new record and they know it. So there's been times when we maybe did a few more Trouble songs, and a time when we did a little few, you know, more Skull songs. And when we don't do Skull songs, it depends on where we're playing and what time and all that. Then people come up to us and say, you need to play more songs from the new record. You know, so it's kind of tough. You know, you got all these songs to choose from, and everybody's got their own opinions, and they want to hear this one and that one. And you know, when people start like coming up to us and asking us to play a certain song over and over again, and then we start playing it, and then somebody out wants a different one, so we can't win that game.
Yeah, you can't please everybody.
No, so we just kind of make the set a little bit of everything to please ourselves too. You know, I mean, I think we count in that right there. You know,
because if you're not digging it, it's not going to be a good show.
Yeah, so we've been around the block here, and right now I think we're doing a little bit of everything. You know, something off each record, at least one song. So we'll see what happens tonight. You know, we're doing something a little different tonight even than we did last time.